Did Pedri flop at the World Cup? The simple answer for that is no, and you're just simply delusional if you think that. Because let me show you this. Pedri outperformed Jude Bellingham in every single possible metric that is important at this World Cup. In this video, we're going to take a look at why De La Fuente benched him and why I actually agree with this decision. As always, do subscribe to the channel, and I want you to do me a favor, let every Barca fan know about this channel because it's important. Look at the overall match ratings of the Spanish midfielders at the World Cup. Pedri was better than Fabián Ruiz. He was even better than Dani Olmo. Like, that's crazy to think that people say Pedri failed. He did not fail at the World Cup, guys. The first issue, of course, is the two-controller system. Both Rodri and Pedri are controllers. You understand me? When the teams are in these higher up positions, controlling the positioning, controlling the play, and all of that stuff, although on paper Rodri is a defensive midfielder, he's not that guy that's just going to stay in these areas and wait for the ball rotate like you would see a Sergio Busquets. Rodri also likes to be in these wider channels, where you would expect Dani Olmo to drop into these areas, like a Fabián Ruiz, for example. Pedri is not that type of player that's just gonna cruise and be an option. Pedri wants to do what Rodri is doing. Pedri wants to be in these positions. Alright, so even though Rodri on paper is a defensive midfielder, he's not in this area constantly. He likes moving over to the right, he likes moving over to the left, especially against France. Luis de la Fuente was in a position of, look, I don't want two guys doing the same thing on the pitch. So there was no need for one of them to be on the pitch. And at the end of the day, it depends on who you prefer. I do think a Hansi Flick would prefer Pedri to do it. But then you need a defensive midfielder to be in that position, right? And Pedri is not going to be that. If we had maybe a Casado in this Spanish team, then Pedri would have been a fit. So that's the reason Luis de la Fuente didn't want to have two controllers within the game. You understand my point? So now Fabián Ruiz was playing the supportive role, kind of like Frenkie de Jong is doing at Barcelona, right? So that's the reason. It's not because Pedri wasn't good enough. It was to suit Rodri. Because Rodri, let's be honest, guys, Rodri is a much more well-rounded player than Pedri is. So the position that Pedri likes to take up, Rodri likes to do that. And you will see now in the game against France, you will see that Rodri did get in these positions where Fabián Ruiz kind of played like the supportive role and be an option, right? The Spanish midfield was obviously built around Rodri, and I mean, why wouldn't you do it? I mean, the man is a treble winner, he's a Ballon d'Or winner, like, why wouldn't you do that, right? And Fabián Ruiz was altering his positioning based on what Rodri is doing. He wasn't picked because he was better than Pedri. This was to suit Rodri better, and like I said, why wouldn't you do it, right? And Rodri also wanted to take up these wider positions and not be static in that midfield or in that defensive midfield positioning, right? And do you really expect Pedri just to alter his positioning based on what Rodri is doing? That would be limiting his talent. And kudos to De La Fuente for doing this, man. That's the reason why. Fabián Ruiz brings you the much needed physicality that you would need. And this is not a throw on La Liga or on Pedri, but the physicality is much lower in La Liga, so it suits Pedri better, right? And Fabián Ruiz is going to be that guy that's going to be able to make those tackles, that's going to hold the ball up for you, maybe better than a Pedri would, right? And like I said, this is not a throw on Pedri or La Liga or Barcelona in general, but the quality and the physicality is much higher because remember, all of the midfielders from the opposition are going to be bigger players. They're going to be faster. That's why it's a World Cup. So everybody's going to be at the top of their level. Maybe Pedri would have gotten an injury, right? You remember that tackle that Pedri got that made him a little bit injured? I don't know if it was in this World Cup, but at Spain he was tackled and he was injured. And let's be honest, Pedri is not that physical type of guy. So Rodri's defensive abilities and capabilities along with his physicality paired with Fabián Ruiz as a partnership in that base, in that engine room, it's just going to be unstoppable. And this is the kind of decisions that managers has to make at the end of the day for the better of the team. Yes, we love Pedri, but Luis de la Fuente actually said that Pedri cannot play the role for Spain that he does at Barcelona because the circumstances are different. However, Pedri's role was also very, very amazing when he came on, right? He was kind of like taking up these positions now, where he would help Rodri kind of like dictating the game, which was amazing. And Pedri did put up some amazing numbers, which we will check in a second, right? Just because Pedri didn't start doesn't mean he wasn't great, right? People look always at output, they don't look at the metrics and the mechanisms of the game. Pedri did amazing dropping into these areas, helping Baena, sometimes coming on in for Baena or obviously for Fabián Ruiz, right? And then your Yathaba would take up this role where Olmo would come in here and actually make space for Porro. You remember that second goal against France where the ball was played here into Olmo because of this, right? So Pedri gives you a different type of approach, a different action. And Luis de la Fuente, he understood this, right? So now Pedri and Rodri could all play together. And Pedri coming on so late actually gives you now more control in the business hours of the game, right? So Pedri did have his impact. Don't get it twisted. Pedri was amazing at this World Cup. Now, because Madrid fans and all Pedri haters would say, oh, he wasn't on the field. Like, look at what he's doing when he's on the field. Do you understand the game? So before you say Pedri was a flop at this World Cup, you should understand the game. Look at the World Cup final when he played that ball over the top there into Nico Williams. If Williams scored that, Pedri would have assisted a goal in the World Cup final. But because we are so drunk on output, assists and goals, you never really see what's happening. Although Pedri came off the bench, he was still very important for this Spanish team. Like I said, he would take up these positions that Rodri did, and Rodri could actually rest a little bit, right? He would be on the left, he would be on the right, and now Spain, in the critical moments, in the business hours of the game, Spain would now have control and more control and slow down the pace where games normally would get crazy. So now Spain has more control. So he was still very, very important for the Spanish team. And like I told you, like in the World Cup final when he chipped that ball to Nico Williams, I mean, come on. You would really have to hate Pedri or be extremely delusional if you really think that this guy flopped at the World Cup. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Pedri. Because I saw someone commented on a previous video that I did, but did you know that Pedri created more chances than Spain midfielders at the World Cup? Is that really somebody that's a failure to you at the World Cup? Not only that, he has more key passes as well, despite playing much less and attempting much more passes than those guys. Is that really a failure to you? But here's the statistic that I want you to look at. Passes into the final third. Although Fabián Ruiz did play more than Pedri, he didn't even complete close to the amount of passes because that's not why he was in the team. Do you understand my point? But look at the efficiency. Pedri attempts or completes a key pass every 45 minutes. The Rodri, 72 minutes. Is that really a failure to you? I mean, honestly? But let me know what you guys think about Pedri at the World Cup. Do you believe this nonsense that he was flopping at the World Cup? As always, do subscribe to the channel. I want you guys to help me. Let every Barca fan know that this is a Barca channel where we will mainly focus on Barcelona tactics as well as everybody else. Enjoy, guys. Thank you very much.